Overwatch 2 has got more negative backlash than just about any game on the market, with so many fans disappointed time and time again. Overwatch 2 and the PvE debacle destroyed expectations for the game, and a lot of people are still mad to this day. With Overwatch being completely destroyed on Steam, from the outside looking in, it would seem that Overwatch is dead, or on the cusp of being dead. But then you take one step back and you realize that Overwatch is actually fine. It's doing really good against all odds, and it doesn't make any sense. So why is Overwatch not dead right now, and is it going to die anytime soon? We're going to answer all of these questions, but only 20% of you are subscribed, so do me a solid and subscribe right now, and let's jump into it. So the reason that I say that Overwatch is not dead is because Overwatch is getting a ton of freaking views. Like, Overwatch content on YouTube is getting a crazy amount of traction in a way that a dead game just wouldn't get. Like, there's a lot of games that are struggling really hard in the content space right now, even in the stream space, but just the overall interest space, and Overwatch is not. I'm seeing channels post videos of their gameplay and popping off on brand new channels. I'm seeing channels just rant about the game and pop off and get a lot of views. I mean, my channel alone is doing a lot of this rant content. There are tons of other creators doing the same thing, and we're getting views, and you might not think that that's a big deal, but it is, because people care enough to watch. People care enough to get mad, and that's a common trend that I see, that a lot of games, they don't have people that even care enough to watch a negative piece on the video. When I was doing Halo Infinite content way back when, before the game died, I was in charge of one of the biggest educational Halo channels, and as the game started dying, because there was a lot of problems behind the scenes, I would eventually start talking negativity. I would talk about the failing state of Halo, and I would talk about all the problems, but over time, those were the only videos that got views, and then over time past that, those videos didn't even get views anymore. Nothing got views. Gameplay didn't get views, brand videos didn't get views, nothing, because no one cared enough anymore. No one even wanted to give it any energy. And Overwatch, yes, gets a lot of views based on negativity, but there are also views from pretty much everything. Like, gameplay news, guides, there's a ton of different room for content and views, which is strange because from the outside looking in, everyone thinks that Overwatch is dead. Like, I talk to people that I know IRL. They don't play Overwatch. They don't know that much about the game. But from their perspective, from the outside, they imagine that Overwatch is a wasteland where no one watches the game, no one plays the game, no one cares about the game. But that's not the truth. That's not the reality that we're living in. No matter how much people say it, it's not the truth. It's not even close to the truth. And I've been hearing that Overwatch is dead for a very long time, and the viewership just doesn't reflect that. Like, it just doesn't. Like, the overall interest of the audience just doesn't reflect what people have been saying pretty much non-stop. So why is Overwatch not dead? If Overwatch is indeed doing actually really well, surprisingly, what about Overwatch makes it really hard to kill, and in fact, pretty much not gonna die anytime soon? Well, I think the first one is the unique experience that Overwatch brings to the table. Like, there's nothing like Overwatch pretty much anywhere. I know that there's other character shooters, you know, things like Apex and things like Valorant, but we've all tried those games. We've all played those games at one point, and they're not Overwatch. They're not even remotely close to Overwatch, because the thing that those games don't capture is the non-DPS experience and then the abstract experience. Like, in what game are you going to play something like Junkrat? In what game? How are you going to find a character like that in any other game? In what game are you going to play something like Reinhardt? These characters are very unique, and they offer very unique experiences. And not only that, these experiences are so unique that they foster a sub-community, where I've literally been seeing freaking Junkrat players post their montages on YouTube, and it's getting like crazy views because people want to see that, and it's something that is cool, and it's like a sub-community within Overwatch that is getting views, and people are actually enjoying that content. And you just don't really see that in other games, and I think it's because a lot of games have a crazy amount of overlap even among their different character types. Like, if you have one character and another character that they have different perks, but the gunplay is the same, the general position's the same, the play patterns are the same, then there's a lot of overlap that's going on. Like, you can kind of differentiate them, but at the end of the day, you're playing just a variation of the same game. But like I said, a Rhine and a Junkrat, the experience is completely different. Like, it's not even the same game. I mean, you're doing completely different things. What you're experiencing is completely different. Your mechanics are completely different. And Overwatch is really the only modern game that provides something to that extent. And nothing else even really comes close. Now, another part of this is the iconic legacy of Overwatch. We all know how high Overwatch 1 was, especially back in 2016, even 2017. It was popping off so hard that now the game is still kind of using its past, its legacy to prop up its present, but a lot of games just die though, even if they have crazy high highs. Like, just because a game has crazy high highs does not mean that it will maintain that high, right? It will not create that stability, and I think that unique experience is what really brings that to the table, because I think Overwatch provides something for every type of player in a way that other games simply don't, and it's almost like you could spend hundreds or even thousands of hours grinding one character, and then when you get bored, you can move on to another character and just have such a different experience. And I think those things together really create that longevity where people aren't getting bored of Overwatch in the same way that they're getting bored of some of these other games that are popping off recently. Like, even the finals, it had these crazy highs, and a lot of people were really hyped about the game, and the game is just dying. Like, the game is losing tons of players, and I'm not saying the game is bad. I think the game looks really cool and it looks fun, but the longevity of Overwatch is unmatched compared to many other titles, maybe apart from some of the legacy titles like League of Legends and Counter-Strike, but it's just really living even with all this crazy negativity, and I think it's because of a lot of the things I mentioned. But more than that, and I think one of the biggest reasons that Overwatch is just not gonna die anytime soon. Like, I know that people are saying, oh, the end is near, next season's gonna be make or break. Everyone always says that, and people keep repeating these things, but it hasn't been true. Like, if we could get through the PvE debacle and still come out on the other side with people interested in the game, people wanting to get better still, people still watching content, the game is not dying anytime soon. Like, it just isn't, unless there's competition. And I think that's really the most important thing that we're not getting. There is zero competition to Overwatch, and for a lot of the reasons I said, freaking Apex, freaking Valorant, these games are not competitors to Overwatch. They're just not. They're not competitors. Apex is a battle royale. A lot of people don't like the battle royale experience. It also has the same fundamental gunplay. Like I said, you're not going to get the full creativity that you're going to have, these crazy unique experiences in Overwatch. In Apex, you're just not going to have that. That crossover doesn't exist. And for Valorant, it's a tac shooter. It's a completely different type of game. And whether it's the pace of play, whether it's the gunplay aspect, the lack of mobility, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of reasons that people that play Overwatch don't like Valorant. And it doesn't translate over. Overwatch being a more arena-based movement shooter it's like the complete opposite of a tac shooter. Even if there are characters that have mobility and stuff like that in Valorant, they do not overlap in fan base nearly as much as you would think. It's a lot smaller of a percentage. And so when you have a game that offers all these really unique things and there's zero competitor for it, like, how do you proceed if Overwatch is the game that you really enjoy? Where do you go to find something that is fun and interesting in the market that fulfills the same niche, the same need in your gameplay loop or whatever as Overwatch? And you just really can't find it. I mean, what are you gonna do? Go play Paladins? It's made by Hi-Rez. It's not gonna be polished. It's nowhere near as quality as a game like Overwatch. The gameplay loop is a little bit more convoluted. It's overly complicated in some aspects and just not refined in others. I'm not talking too bad about Paladins. I'm just saying it's not even close to the same tier of game as Overwatch. It's not even close to the same AAA polish as Overwatch. It's not even remotely close. And any other game that comes along tries to spin the formula in a way that takes us away from the reason that people like Overwatch. Like, what we really need is a studio that would come along, that is a big studio, that comes in and creates something that directly challenges Overwatch. But who is going to do that? And how would you do that? Overwatch at this point has 36 characters, and it's incredibly hard to create that many characters with that many different types of, once again, gameplay experiences. You're creating so many different things that takes a lot of resources. Like, a game can't just come out out of nowhere and just spit out a game that has 30 plus characters that all operate different and have their own mechanics. They have their own unique ways to play. They have all these advanced techs. Like, that's such a hard thing to do all at once. It would take a lot of time. So what game could possibly challenge Overwatch? And who would even want to try? Who would even want to try to challenge a game that is in fact not dead? It's actually alive. It has a lot of views. It has a lot of people playing it. It has a lot of content. So there's not even really that big of an incentive to try to build a game to challenge Overwatch, because you might just fail. Like, you might spend all this money and effort and time and just be a worse version of Overwatch. So this is what I see. I see that Overwatch is a game that basically gets to continue to exist and even thrive, even in spite of all the various failures of Blizzard, of just development, of a lot of the, you know, balance things and the changes to Overwatch 2 and PvE. Like, some of these are mistakes, undoubtedly mistakes that have been made throughout the history of Overwatch, but it just doesn't matter because there isn't anything like Overwatch. It's just such a unique thing where if you want to walk away from Overwatch, you're not walking away from Overwatch for anything that will fill that void. You're just going to pivot entirely. And if you want to do that, that's on you. That's completely fine. But I don't. Like, I want Overwatch. Like, I want that experience. And there is nothing like it. There's just nothing like it. I can't find it anywhere. So we could keep talking about how Overwatch is dying. We could keep talking about how Overwatch will die. We could keep talking about how bad of a game Overwatch is. But none of this is going to change the fact that Overwatch is here to stay. And it doesn't look like a mass bombing of reviews. It doesn't look like a million missteps along the way will change that. And that might be kind of frustrating. I know it is for me, because I think that Overwatch could be greater. And I think that really is what people have the biggest problem with. They understand that Overwatch is kind of all they got. It fills the void in the market that they want. They want to play Overwatch. They just feel like the game could be better than what it is. And I agree with you, but right now, it's the best we got. Now that I kind of think about it, what would it actually take for Overwatch to, like, really die? Like, really die for good? I don't really know the answer to that question, because they've done so many bad moves that have just, like, not really mattered that I don't really know. Like, I just don't know. But maybe Overwatch will make a complete comeback. I'm pretty optimistic about a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do in Season 9. And we're going to have to wait and see on that one. But do me a solid and smash that like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you next time.